camera just fell over like for no reason. I'm still trying to get all these other things set up here. This is what happens when you're doing nothing but cell phone stuff. This is what happens when you're doing nothing but cell phone
Homosexual people.
So much noise. So much noise everywhere. Okay, that's working. Let's mute that.
Or they are affirmed.
All right, let's turn that off. I don't need that. All right, we're just going to click that on right there. I think I got this right now. Let's get these guys. Come on now. You're such a pain in the butt. All right, I think I got them both set up now. All right. All right, so, whoa. Something just happened. There we go. Dangerous. All right. Maybe we're trying to do the wrong thing. There we go. Okay, I think I finally got it all set up here. Good morning, everybody. Hopefully you're having a great shut up phone. I need to push this button, West Virginia. Pappy, good morning to you, my friend. Notify the peoples. Make the chats bigger. All right, let's see here. While we wait for my clapper-ons to join, let's see here. We got Viking Queen. She turned the notifications on. Hopefully it is working. First, Mad Max. Number 2, driving and listening. West Virginia Pappy, who is omnipresent. RC, I'm glad I'm not turd. Okay. Oh, you're not turd as in third. I got you, RC. Violet's good to see you. Good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Miss Melody. Tefel is here. Alan, good to see you guys. Bitches be trippin'. Good morning. I love some of these names. I think they're absolutely hilarious. All right, so we're still waiting for the clapper thingy to turn on, but whatever. It'll turn on when it turns on. I'm not gonna be worried about it. Okay, guys. So let's see. Let's get some admin stuff knocked out of the way. The hat of the day is this is one of my favorite hats in the entire world. It's kind of sad, but it's kind of like a menu. So I worked in different places in the world, and these guys right here on the inside of this hat are the signatures of 13 dead men. Knew them all very well. Did some very crazy things in very crazy places with these people. If you don't know what that is, you might want to look it up. And yeah, that's one of my favorite hats in the world because these guys, they put a mark on me. And yeah, hopefully you guys have people in your lives that have put marks on you too. Jordan showed up. Good morning, Guns Coast to Hote. Good morning. Thank you, Alan. I appreciate it. My God, I don't know what is going on with the clapper is so stupid. I'm going to just wait until, I don't know. Missing out on sleep to be present for this one. Okay. Hopefully I'm worth your time. Sleep is very important to me, guys. That is for damn sure. Okay, so we're not really following yesterday's theme because yesterday's theme was dark people in a dark place and thinking about dark thoughts. And so today we're going to do things a little bit differently. And what we're going to do is we're going to talk about SHTF in a way that most probably have not actually discussed it. There we go. Jeff Allen's over here in the clapper side. Good morning. Thank you for checking in. And the reason I wanted to do it was because I think that we have to be very cautious as to how we think things would be versus how things really would be. Okay. And there are some very, very harsh realities that people have put pen to paper on and thought about that I wanted to relay to you so that you understand the world will not be like the goodness, the feelings, the emotions that you get from watching The Walking Dead. It won't be like that. The world would be a very different place. And we should also be thinking of be careful what you wish for. Hey, Kaylee, good to see you. Before we do that, do me a favor, hit that like and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. These are the kind of things that we're doing on the daily, basically, Monday through Friday. at 9:30 in the morning. That seems to be the magical number that everybody seemed to like, so I started doing it then. And so let me read a few things that I've got here on my computer screen. So when things truly fall apart, life after SHTF won't be pleasant. Opening statement. That's it. It's not going to be pleasant, guys. You think this should go without saying, but based on many of the comments I read from preppers across America, some of you are just itching for a collapse to happen. You're buying various types of gear, stocking up on assorted foods, and arming yourself to the teeth and patiently waiting, saying, let it happen already. Just let it happen already. I'm so tired of waiting. And I think that this is a huge mistake, guys. I think this is a huge mistake. Because some of these people, they want SHTF or Tetawaki or another civil war. They just want it to happen so bad because it's called optimism bias, and morals have changed. And if we're not paying attention to this, this is going to bite us in the ass. Now, I don't know why some people think life after SHTF is something to wish for. Is it fiction that creates the illusion that the collapse will somehow be fun? I think it's understandable if that is the case, but it is not. Why do we think this way? It's a huge question. And if we don't address it, we're going to wake up one morning and things are going to be what we've been preparing for, but they're not, because they're going to be so much worse. And there's basically 5 factors to this problem that a lot of people are not really taking into thought, that it's not going to be super duper great. They have this in their mind that there will be like their ability to overcome all these obstacles that they've never really prepared for. So science has found that most of us are wired with what's called an optimism bias. Studies that show that we're naturally inclined to believe good things will happen to us, even in dire situation. Basically, they found that 80% of human beings exhibit this thing called optimism bias. We're hoping for the best. We think good things are going to happen to us. It's right up there with the exact opposite of the way people think about, when somebody says something bad, like, oh, it could be worse, that could happen. And then someone next close to them says, don't say stuff like that. Don't bring that into the world, because if you said it, it would happen. It's very interesting how the human brain works. And what we have to do is really think about these things. I've got somebody else popping in there, and I cannot see. Rick Roberts, good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Good morning. It's basically an evolutionary adaptation of being optimistic can make individuals more likely to take risks and venture into the unknown, which in the past could have led to finding new resources or habits. But the modern world, and especially in context of life after SHTF, this bias can lead to dangerous underestimation of realities. Many of us underestimate the risks, picturing ourselves as the exception. We always want to be, well, we're going to be fine because we're ready. But the world doesn't care about our preparedness. All we can do is continue to move forward. Hey, good morning, Tina. Good to see you. Optimism bias might have once been an evolutionary advantage, and it can now lead us completely astray. And we need to understand that there are dark things that can happen, and that there are not so great people in the world. You're like, well, I know that. I understand that. I'm an adult. I know these things. But true preparedness stems from a community spirit. It goes beyond personal safety to ensure that our neighbors, friends, and community members are also protected. The essence of prepping is hoping you never have to use those preparations, but being ready if the time comes. Oh, I yawned number one. Actually, I'm lying. I yawned earlier, but it is what it is. Wishing for a collapse puts personal thrill over community welfare, and it doesn't align with true ethos of being a prepper. Let's look at, I'll tell you what, let's look at some of the harsher realities of, wishing for the collapse, and you're probably not considering. Count two. Before we do that, let's go ahead and hit it looks like I've got some stuff in the chat. And if you guys have comments on this, please put it in the chat because I will respond to them. Let's see here. What's the second word on the second word on the head? That's commando amphibio. It's Peruvian. Boop. Peru. I like the Peruvians. I like the Colombians. They hate each other for some reason, but it is what it is. Looks like Connie showed up. Good morning. My second life. Good morning. Let's see here. I'm still here just listening on Connie's laptop because I'm one prescription away from a seeing eye dog. Well, that sounds, I'm going to go with staying positive on that, whatever that statement means. Let's see here. Bradley says, I didn't get my notification, but it did get my attention. Oh my God. Oh, number 3. Glad I could make it. Good to see you, Bradley. Good to see you. All right, so it looks like the comments are dry. You guys are letting me down here, so I'm just going to continue on. So the first thing that I want to talk about, guys, when we talk about complacency, yeah, that's something, but that's a mental thing. I'm talking about the true realities of SHTF that people just don't really think about. And the very first one is mass loss of life. People can't comprehend because they've never seen it before. They can't comprehend how many people are going to die. It's huge. It's like it will take years to bury the bodies. It's going to be bad. So wishing for it is just not smart. When discussing potential societal collapse, the most sober and profound consideration is the loss of human lives. While many discussions in the prepper community focus largely on material preparation, we must confront and understand the gravity of the inevitable consequences. It's huge. It's so massive. People are making comparisons in the science community that watches preparedness, that does work in preparedness. That they're kind of using, what they're doing is they're trying to find something that's similar so that they can associate and make people understand what mass death would actually be. You know, one of the big things was during the Civil War, there was an estimated 750,000 deaths. That's about a little over 2% of the population at the time. If we applied that math to a true SHTF situation, not like the end of the world type stuff, you're looking at, based on our numbers at around 330 million, you're looking at about 8 million lives lost. So if there were to be a civil war, an actual civil war, 8 million people would die from whatever reasons. It could literally be anything. It could be, it's the craziest thing. 1 in 13 veterans from the Civil War were amputees because of the types of weapons that they used and the damage that was done. And we're all very capable of doing so much more now in that realm. And so to believe that it would be this cakewalk where only the bad people only the people that were against the American way of life would pass, and it would be clean and simple and ready to swipe away. No, you're looking at over 8 million people dying. So those are some of the things to think about when you talk about like the mass amount of people that will die. The next thing that you probably need to understand is the scarcity of resources and supplies. The collapse of society would not only lead to significant loss of life, but would also bring about severe scarcity of vital resources and supplies. The images of fully stockpiled bunkers and pantries, often glamorized in the media and in my own media, if I'm candid, dramatically oversimplify the actual challenges of widespread societal breakdown. Now, listen to me when I read this to you guys. Listen to me when I read this to you. Our modern economies operate on a just-in-time supply chain model, where goods are produced and delivered almost exactly when needed. The system, while efficient, is very fragile. We've seen this. We saw this during the thing that we cannot speak of. Any disruptions can lead to instant shortages. Supermarket shelves could be barren within days, if not hours. Even locally produced foods might become inaccessible with transportation breakdowns. Consequently, many could face the grim reality of skipped meals, malnutrition, and weakened immunity. You catch that last one there? That skipping the meals leads to malnutrition equals to weakened immunity. Yeah. The intrinsic web of modern healthcare dependent on constant supplies and electricity would be in jeopardy, especially medications like insulin or antibiotics. Antibiotics. Clapper, you can't see it. Jace Medical, guys. Hospitals already strained could face crippling shortages, rendering even basic medical procedures perilous. Basically, they couldn't fix you because it would possibly bring you into more. I'm going to move this camera right here. Would bring you into even more danger of being infected or infection getting into your body. Man, I'm just screwing this all up. Worse still, without clean water and sanitation, disease outbreaks like cholera or dysentery would become rampant. A scarcity of hygiene products could also be a risk of skin disease and infections. Guys, the supply chain is not our friend. This is why we actually prep. You have to ask yourself a hard question, and I know that's not what you want to hear. I know it's not what you want to hear. Do you have enough? And the answer is always no. The answer should always be no. Does that turn you into a hoarder? I don't know. Does it? Are you a hoarder masquerading as a prepper? I don't know. I don't know. Here's what I do know. I constantly see holes in my preps, and I'm constantly thinking about how far I can push my preps. And then the what ifs games. And for that individual who likes to type what ifs in my chat, you know what I'm talking about. What ifs, we don't plan for what ifs. We plan for things based off of scenarios, based off of situations, based off of our threat matrix. And that's how we get through the day. If we had to plan for every single eventuality, which is not possible, it's not possible, guys, then we would literally go nuts. There's not enough money in our bank accounts to prepare for every single eventuality. And everybody should understand that, which is why if you have not done your threat analysis, shame on you. And if you're a Patreon and you have not gone through the library and done your threat analysis, which is what you actually paid for, then shame on you. Okay? So let that one sink in a little bit. Just let one gather in the thoughts in the back of your brain housing group. So I'm going to take a sip of coffee here. Third thing I want to talk about is the breakdown of law and order. People talk a lot about how they're going to act when the time comes, but have done actually no training. They have done no preparation for it other than buying some boom boom sticks and a bunch of freedom seeds. That's all they've done. So let's talk about that so that you can get your brain in the right place. The foundation of any functional society lies in its ability to maintain order and justice, ensuring the individuals can go about with their lives as a responsible Sorry, my mustache dug in on my lip there. With a reasonable expectation of safety and fairness. This delicate balance, upheld by institutions, laws, and mutual respect, becomes increasingly vulnerable in times of chaos. We're already seeing these things. Are they signs? No, they're not signs. They're symbols of what can happen. Okay? So, in life after SHTF, one of the most immediate and alarming repercussions is the disintegration of law and order. The very fabric that binds communities and ensures the safety and security of its members starts to unravel, leading to a rise in criminal activity and lawlessness. History offers ample examples. The fall of great civilizations often saw an accompanying spike in crime. Now, I want to read some interesting stuff to you here in a second. But aren't we already seeing this here in the United States? Isn't this something that is already happening here in the United States? The answer is yes. We've seen this massive spike in crime. And yes, we blame El Presidente and this crappy administration, and we point fingers in every direction. And the truth is, it's all our own fault. Everybody's fearful for losing their job for doing the right thing. I mean, it's got to the point now, Walmart, no, this is no joke. Individual Walmart managers have the authority to ban for life a person from entering into that Walmart if they want to. They can do it. It's not happening anymore because some of these crimes are so blatant that to do that would mean that people would never come back into their stores. You know what I'm saying? And you're thinking to yourself, well, that's great. But what happens? How many people do you ban? How many people do you ban for life? That's a lot of people. And it's not just bad for business, but it comes down to the work necessary to do those things, and it's so hard. It's so hard to put into words how unbelievably stupid these types of things have become. But the reality is we are seeing this level of crime increase here in the United States. I don't have time to watch videos about crime in other countries, but it's apparent that if it's happening here, that it is likely happening in other countries that are starting to fall apart. So let me read this to you real quick here. Post-World War II Europe, particularly in cities that bore the brunt of the conflict, witnessed a marked increase in theft, black markets, and violence. Infrastructure was destroyed. Policing was minimal, and desperation drove individuals to acts they may have previously deemed unthinkable. This statement goes to that, we talk about right now. So right now, an armed population or an armed civilization is a polite civilization. But when all hell breaks loose, people forget about that. They don't think about those things. And yeah, that's going to be a bad day for somebody in some way, but they're not thinking about those things. Similarly, during the U.S. Great Depression in the 1930s, while many were lauded for their resilience and community spirit, there was also an undeniable surge in crime rates. Bank robberies, thefts, and even organized crime found fertile ground in the economic desperation of the era. In modern society breakdown, the effects of life after SHTF would be even more pronounced given the dense population centers and the complexity of urban environments, without the restraints of law enforcement we would see. And we're going to crack on with a couple of those things we would see. First things first, vigilantism. In the absence of formal law enforcement, individuals or group might take the law into their own hands, leading to unchecked or often brutal justice. This is where we start to think that, well, without the cops around, we're just going to form a circle, point our weapons outwards, and protect the community. And then there's one person that you see as your leader, but he's not really leadership material. And it's normally the biggest guy. It's normally the biggest guy who's never had to do anything really hard in his life because he's a huge guy, and people look up to him because he's a huge guy, and he's just this soft little guy, but he doesn't know anything about leading people or managing people or getting things done other than do it or I'll break your neck. And we're going to run into a lot of these people, and those are the kind of people that create vigilante type organizations, not the good kind like we used to see in the TV, not the superhero kind, the kind that decides that their justice is better than the real justice defined by our Constitution and our laws. All right, so another thing we're going to see is an increase in criminal activity. Desperation could push many towards theft, looting, and worse. Property crimes would likely skyrocket, and personal safety could be at a constant risk. Yeah, this one speaks to people breaking into your house, taking your stuff, or worse, killing or raping people in your family. This is something that we would actually see because it is the simplest of crimes. They get through the door, they're armed, they overpower you, and now they can do anything they want to do. And it's inside of a house, so who's going to come save you? So we could actually see this type of increase in crime, which is the worst of worst crimes as far as I'm concerned. Every home is a castle, is how people think until somebody's inside their castle and they haven't prepared for that situation. Exploitation, vulnerable goods, including women, children, and elderly and marginalized communities might face higher risk of exploitation or harm. This is what I was just speaking to. You could literally be, instead of just somebody to rape ladies, you could be seen as somebody to sell. Let that one sink in. Doesn't that take us back to the Dark Ages? Formation of warlord-like entities. Just as we've seen in failed states in contemporary times, power vacuums can lead to the rise of warlord-like figures or groups who wield power through force, further destabilizing regions. Well, today's a yawning day, that is for sure. I'm going to take a sip of this coffee. This is exactly what we're talking about in the very first one. A lot of times, in my experience, what normally happens when society falls apart, I've seen this in smaller countries, less organized, less modernized countries. They become very tribal, and it could be literally block to block to block. If you guys don't remember, in the 80s, we had a very serious gang problem here in the United States. It was literally, we control from 39th Street to 5th Street, down to South, up to North. And if you were wearing the wrong colors, you were dead. We literally saw that here in America. So that tribalism, when we allow our society to fall from our morals and our societal norms, then we actually end up with those situations, and they can be like these little micro cells where things are going to change very, very rapidly and not for the good. So let's see here. One of the other things is prison breakouts, a potential overlooked aspect that could be the security of prisons. Without proper oversight, their possibility of mass prison breakouts release a multitude of criminals back into society, which would further fuel all of this negative stuff that I'm talking to you about right now. It's all very cyclical. It's all very, the dots are connected. You just have to be able to see them, let's see here. Distrust among communities. Trust and fundamental social contract would erode. Neighborhoods could become suspicious of one another, and community cohesion could disintegrate. Yeah, it's pretty bad when you don't know what your neighbor's going to do, but this kind of goes back to those block gang wars that I was just telling you about, where there's just a total lack of trust. Most of their control was all about guns, money, prostitution, and drugs was their major driving factors. So once we removed the majority of that problem, they kind of disappeared. All right, so let's go ahead and check the chat. We're about halfway into this live stream. I appreciate you guys doing the yapping there. We're going to go off to the YouTube. The clapper is kind of hard for me to look at. Oh, wait, I can see it. There we go. All right, so West Virginia Pappy says, my local Walmart don't even check receipts anymore. I believe that. That's why Walmart is leaving Seattle and Portland. Yeah, it's not beneficial for them. The crime is too high. Civility takes a backseat to self-preservation. Absolutely true. But one of the real problems is that people are using that lack of civility under the auspices of self-preservation when there's really nothing wrong with them. That kind of falls in our modern world. That falls to the I'm going to get mine, you got to get yours mentality. And unfortunately, it has a lot to do with the criminal mind thought. Let's see. That's why it's better to move further out right now. That's why, you're asking, Kaylee, that's why it's better to move further out, right? Yeah, exactly. You kind of made me, I'm going to do a very quick segue. Kaylee, one of the people that we're actually going to have at PrepStock next year is going to be a realtor who specializes in preparedness. They are preppers themselves, but they specialize in finding land that is ripe for preppers. Let's see here. Mob mentality. That's right. Let me go to the YouTube chat here. Aham showed up. Hey, good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Let's see here. All American Prepper says, I train in combat every weekend, 12 hours a day. And I also do combat working as a bouncer at a strip club. Gotcha. Watching from rural India. Yeah, I remember. Let's see. Where America is huge. Curious what's going on. Heard inflation on rise, having family members there, but they don't talk about economy. Interest rates are high. Don't buy anything you can't pay for in cash. Let's see. Not sure what Lydian's social media. Yeah. Where are we at here? Like I said, America's huge. Okay, you guys are just having a conversation there. Biotech Queen, welcome to the stream. I don't recognize you. Make sure you like and subscribe. All right, so the conversation was basically taken over by Ahim, and thank you all for speaking with him. Nothing related to this live stream, though. Good job. Let's see here. Let me click on this real quick here. There we go. I think that should solidify a few things. What do we got? All right, so I guess we'll just move on since you guys spent all your time talking about something that doesn't even exist. Well, hold on a second. I think I just saw Grumpy Acres pop in there. Glenn Tate Prepping 2.0. He has a site called Red State Realtors. That lists like-minded realtors that will help people find the right property. They cover many states. Yeah, I think Grumpy wasn't that the guy that actually I know that you and was it Tate had talked about him several times, and I think he's actually got his own YouTube channel. Josh says bunker time. I said yawn, and bam, gone, count. Where we batshit crazy just showed up. Oh my God. All right. So let's see what we got here. If any of this that I'm talking about during this live stream is resonating with you, type 1. If you're still in La La Land, type 2, because SHTF will not be fun, and it will not be glamorous, and it will not be like The Walking Dead, and there will be no zombies. It's not going to be good. Hopefully what I'm doing isn't wasting my time, by wasting your time talking about something that you don't believe in. I'm seeing lots of ones. That is good to hear. I just got on here. All right, Logo, good to go. Preps, let's go. Josh Cole. All right, guys. All right. Glenn has a YouTube presence, a podcast, and on his radio show in Colorado once a week. He also wrote the 299-day series. I got you. Cool. Very cool. Shit hit the fan. Will suck, especially myself. There we go. I think we woke the chat up. I like that. I like that a lot. And we got here 1.4 acres and storage containers. Got you, Ray. Okay, so let's go ahead and move on now that everybody seems to be awake. One of the things that a lot of people, they never talk about because it's not something we really think about. We really think about it. I've done some videos on this in the past that don't really gain any traction because they're not shiny and cool and things like that. But there will be significant mental health challenges in an SHTF situation. The aftermath of life after SHTF brings with it not only physical perils, but profound mental and emotional burdens. Beyond the immediate stress of survival, individuals would grapple with the profound trauma of witnessing the suffering and potential loss of loved ones, which could leave lasting psychological scars. One of the understated challenges of a societal collapse in the modern era would be the breakdown of the communication systems. We have grown accustomed to instant communication, being able to check in on friends and family with a simple message or call. In the wake of a collapse, those communication lines could be severed. The anxiety of not knowing the fate of distant loved ones, unable to ascertain their well-being or even if they're alive, would be an immense emotional weight to bear. That one's actually pretty huge, guys, because when there's a certain level of anxiety that has been pre-built into us based off of the way we are. And even people who grew up with your kids being the remote, bunny ears and VCRs that blink 12, we still have become used to all of this technology. It's become part of our lives. And when it's gone, we start to wonder. We start to think, what the hell's going on? I can give you a perfect human response to that. There was 2 weeks ago, there was a planned power outage in a small town that I was inside of. And that small town, all the power went out in the entire town. To include the cellular towers. The cellular towers didn't even come on. Their generators didn't even come on. And honestly, guys, I'll tell you right now, a lot of the cellular towers in small towns do not have backup generators, if you didn't know that. So the world basically went black for like half an hour. I myself got a little bit of anxiety because I wasn't aware that this was actually happening. I had to actually go and talk to another business and say, hey, do you guys know what's going on? And then they explained it to me. And the way that they had told everybody was through email. And if you hadn't received this email, then you didn't know. And there was a lot of people on the main street standing outside of their businesses going, what the hell's going on? And why can't I call anybody? Holding their cell phones up to the sky as if that was actually going to help. These things are interconnected in our lives. Now, this brings in the need for a comm plan. Do you have a comm plan? There's the question right there. Do you have a comm plan? If you don't, you should probably make one. And there's 1,000 different videos on how to do it. Everything from UV5Rs to digital comms to all sorts of standalone stuff. Now, in our particular situation, it was a planned 30-minute blackout because they had to do some crazy stuff at the power plant. But the power came back on. All the routers fired right back up. The cellular towers came on. The sun began to shine once again, and the birds chirped. But for a little while, people were just a little bit scared, wondering what was going on. So build your comm plan. I see somebody there. Rick says ham radio. Damn straight, ham radio. You don't have to be a ham head either, guys. You don't have to be a ham head. And by the way, if something does go down, I don't think the FCC is going to be coming after you in an SHTF situation. I'm pretty damn sure they're not going to. Okay, so the last thing that I want to talk about, and then we'll just open it up for basically a Q&A, is these people that are wishing for a, for like, just let it all burn, man. Just let it all burn. We'll build, just let it all burn. You need to remember that you might not like what the new world looks like. Yeah. It's kind of been proven time and time again that when we do have a complete societal breakdown, that what comes out of it is almost never as good as what was in it. Our government is extremely messed up right now. Our government, our world that we live in between wokeism and fairness, and just our complete government is broken. And people were like, just burn it down. Just start over from scratch. Just get rid of the whole crew and we'll start something new. Well, guys, we talked earlier before about how the vacuum is filled. And you may not like the new world. When envisioning life after SHTF, many individuals influenced by optimism bias, remember we were talking about that when we started this stream, might imagine a fresh start, a blank slate upon which a better world could be built. However, history offers cautionary tales that suggest the aftermath of societal upheaval often doesn't lead to utopian dreams, but rather replaces one set of challenges with another, oftentimes more severe. I want you guys to think about the Iranian Revolution of 1979. They wanted to overthrow everything, and they did it. And then the vacuum was filled with a tyrannous government. I often tell people that they really need to Google pictures of Iran in the 60s, and it'll blow your mind. Do that. When we're done with this live stream, do that. Just Google pictures of Iran from the 1960s and see what comes up. The Russian Revolution, that brought in the USSR, and that resulted in families, the purges, the gulags, famines, regional terror, death for millions, all because they wanted to get rid of the czar regime. They wanted to get rid of their czars. What else do we have here? The decolonization of the African movements. It's crazy, man. In all these cases, the desire for change was genuine and deeply felt, but the outcome underscored the unpredictable nature of societal transformations. The structures that replace old systems might not necessarily cater to dreams and aspirations of all its citizens. Often, they can lead to unintended consequences where freedoms are further restricted and living conditions deteriorate. So if you're wishing for a global reset, know that the potential aftermath of a societal collapse could yield a new world that might not align with your ideals or hopes. While change is constant in history, ensuring that change is for the better requires more than just dismantling the old. Now, let me break this down for you. When we had our revolution here in America, the first revolution, by the way, our leaders weren't just thinking about getting rid of England. They weren't thinking about that. They were thinking about what they had to do after they got out from underneath the boot of England. Many people just want the bad stuff to stop. We see that every single day. We want the bad stuff to stop without thinking that there's so much more bad stuff that could happen after we make the bad stuff stop. We have to really set that in stone in our brains. We have to get where we understand that wishing for the end of the world or the end of this system or just getting rid of all the blue tie people, how sometimes the bad stuff slips right in there. Okay, let's go ahead and check with the chat real quick here, and then we will make a decision as to what we're going to do. Cool Colt says, hey, good to see you. And we got, Kentucky Goatman showed up. Good to go. Remnants being left, yes. Would those individuals be the ones doing or in charge of the rebuild? Probably not. That would be the second revolution after SHTF. Yeah, that's very possible. That's very possible. But back to what I was saying, we don't know what will happen after. We talked about how many deaths there would be during the Civil War. That could be comparable to a revolution. The people in power will not just walk away. They never do. You have to take them out of their offices. Thinking that any thought that everything's going to be touchy or happy, joy after we get past letting them eat cake and the guillotines, we have to be cautious of who fills that vacuum. This goes right back to what we were talking about. The biggest guy who never had to do anything in his life because of his size is now in charge of things. And because he had always just had the, well, I'll just break his neck mentality. And we need to be very aware of that. Grumpy Acres Farms asks a question. Do you think that after SHTF there could be a remnant left to a remnant left to rebuild the constitutional republic? Would the essence of America be gone? Unfortunately, I think that in an SHTF situation, that old term, clear heads prevail. I think it would be very difficult to find those clearer heads. I think that we have way too many people that believe that their stockpile is going to, their stockpile of pew and their honed skills and abilities that they've been practicing on the weekends is going to be enough to raise a country. Because it would literally, if you burn it down, you have to build it back up. You have to raise it back up. And that is far more harder than destroying it. So if we had the right people in the right places and we made the right decisions, we could start this all over again. But we also have to remember that it was a real fight. It was a real fight to become a constitutional republic on paper, let alone a real constitutional republic. And if you, and I know you've read the books, Grumpy, then you know that there were people that fought it all the way from its very inception. They fought it. And now they're starting to win. It only took them 200 something years to do it. But now they're starting to win. And it's a very fine line between doing the right thing and being a totalitarian government, because unfortunately these people would have to be struck down. They would have to be removed. And then are you now the same person that you hated before? So, it's like a double-edged sword. It really has a lot to do with just people being good people and doing the things that good people do and thinking the way that good people think. And it's hard to classify people. It really, really is, because, there's so many stories of these guys that are in prison right now that were good kids. And I'm sure they were right up until that very moment that they weren't. So thanks for offering your opinion on it. Always good to get a different take on the question. Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. You always ask great questions anyway. Okay, so I think we're just about out of time here. I'm going to close with, guys, make sure that PrepStock, not joking, not joking, not joking. Okay, it's going in Western North Carolina. I can't remember the name of it, the damn town. I've been talking too long, and so now my brain, you broke my brain. If someone knows the name of the town, it's going in, type it in the chat. It starts, I want to say it's Luna, but I know that's not right. What's up, Andy? You're very welcome. Can't this year. Gotcha. Is no big deal. No pressure, kid. Nebo, there you go, Tefel. Thank you. Nebo, North Carolina. It's a great, the park is absolutely great. The camping sites are great. The town is great. They got all sorts of stuff in there, man. It's absolutely going to be a bash. It's going to be a shame that it only lasts for a couple of days. You come in on a Friday. I think we're going to go with the potluck on Friday evening. That way, anybody who's camping won't their food won't get spoiled, that kind of thing. And then we're actually going to schedule some get-togethers on Saturday night. I think we're going to Finding Nebo. That's freaking awesome. That's hilarious, Kentucky Goatman. Finding Nebo. Google it. Autocorrect sucks. No, I got you, bro. I'm no worry. I'm not even concerned. I kind of pride myself on either not understanding or reading between the lines. That way I don't really force anything. But yeah, Nebo, North Carolina, it's going to be a great time. It's going to be a great time. We have some great instructors lined up. And now we're just kind of getting everything we're putting the gravy on the taters. If you are thinking about going and you're worried about the end of the world, just do it. Just stop screwing around and do it. The tickets are cheapest right now they're ever going to be. There's only 4 left. So make sure, what do we got? 17 for me, Cat. I feel it's a 16-hour drive for us. I got you. But if you're coming, you're coming. It is what it is. It is what it is. We will not disappoint. And if we do, I'm just going to be so mad at myself. Let's see here. You always figure past my mistakes. It's not a big deal. Let's see here. So PrepStock, prepstock.net. I'm going to be putting some newer pictures of the area on the website. And we're also going to be starting to talk about adding a few different things to the website just to keep everybody educated. But everything you need right now is there. Okay. And if you don't want to camp, there's a buttload of hotels in the area. So don't let that slow you down. If you like what I'm doing, make sure that you hit that like and subscribe button over there on the Clapper side. Do whatever it is you do over there. And I think that's going to be about it, guys. Until tomorrow. Stay safe. Have a great day, and I'll see you when I see you. I'm going to start pushing some buttons now. Bye-bye.